What up, friends? My aim is true, and today we're going to be reviewing P1Harmony's newest mini-album, Harmony, Zero In. This is the fourth mini-album overall by K-pop boy group P1Harmony. The boys in P1Harmony really wowed me with their debut mini-album, Stand Out. It was a unique blend of some of the harder elements of hip-hop and trap rap, while also being fairly experimental too. Their follow-up mini-album, Breakout, wasn't as thrilling, but still fun in its own right, taking that core sound and making it a bit more poppy and lighter. However, since then, I feel like the boys have been starting to almost forget what they were. Their other mini-album that they put out this year, Find Out, kinda died on me a little bit, and I wouldn't rate it as highly as what I did in my review. This new mini-album marks a change in their approach. They kind of switched styles even more on this one, and honestly, it was for the worse, as it largely strips away most of what I found interesting in them to begin with. Instead of being exciting and thrilling, we have passable pop rap and trap pop that does little to stand out like their sound once did. The lead single, Doom to Doom, is decently fun. It's an alright example of pop rap thanks to the very bouncy and rhythmic beat alongside some energizing guitar thrown in for good measure. The chorus is a bit underwhelming though compared to all of the pomp and circumstance that leads up to it. However, it's still decently catchy, and I do like the sort of quirky guitar that they throw in. The vocals are lively and the track structure is pretty nice with each member's parts, though it's kinda weird how Soul still gets no lines. The lyrics are kinda generic march to your own drum stuff, and I just find that this isn't as good of a single as the ones that came before it. I like the gritty guitar and bass on Black Hole, but the song in general is just kind of alright. The verses being rap focused is pretty cool, and the highlights of the more melodic passages make for an interesting contrast, but the grittiness largely doesn't stay throughout the entire thing. I find the chorus to be a bit annoying, to be honest, being overly bombastic just for the sake of it, and it doesn't really let the instrumental shine either. It's one of those tracks that I think has a good root to it, but it just doesn't fully come into its own. The lyrics actually have a pretty dark and lustful aesthetic to them, which I find pretty interesting, but they're kinda betrayed by the song's overall sound. Yes Man is by far the worst song on the mini-album, representing the most generic and bland sides of pop rap. The chorus is pretty catchy, I guess, but goddamn, could they have picked a more limp and mundane instrumental? The vocals aren't really anything to write home about, mostly because they barely even have a beat to follow, and this overly cheery sound just does not fit their aesthetic very well, I think. It's not engaging, like anybody could have done this track. It just doesn't do justice to the boys' skills. The next track, Swagger, though, is a bit of an interesting case. This one actually has some flow and funk to it, feeling almost kind of jazzy in the chorus, and the vocals in general have this fun bounce to it that make them fun to listen to. It's a confident aesthetic, and the bass actually provides a pretty good backbone to the song, I have to say. The combination of the, MIDI brass and the synths also lead to a very slick sound. The pre-chorus is a little generic, but the song's vibes in general are just so jovial and in such an endearing way that I can overlook it. Fun ad-libs and progression, and the lyrics also display a cockiness but also a relatable sense of wanting to do things on your own terms too. Mirror Mirror at least tries to recapture some of the experimental tendencies of their debut, and I think they did a decent job at it. It gets a little bit too light at times, but I'm really digging that chorus especially, giving the boys a chance to really flex their vocal chops. It also has a neat pulsing sample in the background, and I like how the flows are very smooth and more hip-hop focused. It's a nice change of pace. It's a fun tune that's essentially a bad bitch anthem, which I can appreciate. The bridge also has a cool switch up in the beat while also staying relevant to the sound at hand. Different Song for me is one of those cases where we get like a ballad to close out the project, and like a lot of those other instances, it's pretty unfitting. I don't really hate it or anything, but it's pretty par for the course and uneventful. I suppose the addition of the electric guitar does give it some identity, but I mean, you've heard tons of ballads like this already, and it's not going to be the last one you hear either. The vocals are nice, but they're not really given much of an instrumental to work with, as the backbone of this is basically just your 808s that are prevalent in so many other groups as ballads. This sort of melodic sound just doesn't really suit their style, I don't think. I can appreciate the lyrics about being open and honest about your feelings, but I wish the general beat and instrumental didn't make it sound so cliché. This really isn't the direction that I wanted to see the boys go in, unfortunately. I had my suspicions when each new mini-album was leaning in a more pop rap direction, but this sound just doesn't do them justice. Most of what on here is just flat out uninteresting. They're decently composed pop rap tunes, I guess, but nothing on here even comes close to what they were doing on Stand Out. I don't like to compare albums to previous projects by a group, but when the drop-off in quality and variety is this blatant, it's kinda hard to ignore. Some of the more sample-heavy and jazzier beats on this project are pretty fun, and really Yes Man is the only bad track, but I just can't help feeling really underwhelmed by most of what's on here, especially knowing of what the boys are capable of. I just hope they keep some of that gritty and cocky energy intact on future projects, alongside actually getting some more experimental production going. Please? I'm feeling a light 5, I guess, on the newest P1Harmony mini-album. But of course, we do have to talk about album covers on this show, and this one is pretty cool. It largely follows suit to their previous album covers, featuring a sort of single image at the forefront alongside with the text on top. This one has more of a sci-fi aesthetic to it, like a particle collider, some sort of thing like that. I feel like it actually would have fit really well with their debut mini-album, because that one does have a bit more of a sci-fi aesthetic, especially in the single. I think this aesthetic is pretty cool. I just don't think this was the right mini-album to put it on. But of course, those are just my thoughts on this newest mini-album by P1Harmony. What did you guys think? Do you think they actually are going in a better direction? Do you like this more pop-rap-oriented style from them? Or are you also missing their more experimental debut like I am? Let me know. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell if you want to stand out. That's the wrong mini-album. If you want to zone in, I guess. But until the next one, farewell.